Retro.
And welcome everybody to another Freakazoid episode of the Animanicast.
I decided to go to a new town. I heard it had a lot of crime, but when I got there, it had all dried up. Nothing, not even so much as a cruddy little jaywalker. Oh, Freakazoid, I don't know what to do.
You can act like a superhero!
Ow.
Freakazoid, help me! Come on, buddy, you're better than this. You're the huntsman. Say it, I'm the huntsman.
Huntsman.
And welcome everybody once again to another episode of Freakazoid and Friends. Yes, this is the spin-off series of the Animanicast, and this is the only podcast that lets you freak out all about Freakazoid. Yes, we're going to be exploring all the cultural references and gags to a random episode that we have picked in sequential order of the series. And, of course, we're going to give this episode of Freakazoid a Water Tower rating. I am Joey, and joining me once again is one of my co-hosts. There's my brother Nathan.
Oh no, what are we going to do?
And of course, there's my other co-host, all the way across the country in Georgia. There's Kelly.
Hello.
Hello, and boy oh boy was, today we are talking about a very, I guess you could say, dramatic episode of Freakazoid. This, of course, is episode 2 of season 2, and it is simply called The Freakazoid. Yes. And if you were to summarize today's episode in just a few words, what would you say, Nathan?
Birthday, do.
And Kelly, what about you?
How Spielbergian.
Yes, a very Spielbergian episode indeed. I'm not quite sure if this is the last appearance of Spielberg, I should say, but I don't know. He's been on the show quite a bit.
He makes more appearances on Freakazoid than the other shows.
Probably. I think that's right. Well, let's go ahead and get straight into our episode discussion. But before we do, I got to ask Nathan the very important question. Nathan, when did this episode first premiere?
All right, this time I've checked it and I've double checked it, and okay. I'm going to get it right this week.
Good.
This episode was released yesterday.
What?
No.
You're wrong, Nathan.
Whenever you're listening to it. No, Saturday, September 14th, 1996. That was the same day as an Animaniacs episode, actually. You may remember some little... the Pocahontas.
Oh yeah.
And Boyd's on the Hood. The Mighty Wacko at the Bat. That was all in the same episode, and that was released on the same day as this.
Just another heroine.
That's right. Today was when PlayStation's Crash Bandicoot was released. Mark McGuire became the 13th player to hit 50 home runs in a season. Jeff Daniels helps his daughter lead a flock of geese south and fly away home.
Are you repeating facts?
No, yeah. This one's a new one.
Okay.
John Van Claude Van Damme.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Jean-Claude Van Damme stars in a movie with Natasha Henstridge, Maximum Risk. Oh boy. Natasha Henstridge, known for Species. She did those movies, and Jean-Claude Van Damme did a bunch of action movies. I guess I can own this was one of them.
Yes. Back in the day when Jean-Claude Van Damme would be enough to bring people into a movie theater. It's funny how those action stars, there's always a certain point where action stars just stop being able to pull people in. And I mean, of course, The Rock has been doing this. He's an action star who keeps pulling them in, but like Van Damme, it's like you got 5 or 10 years out of Van Damme, and that was it.
Yeah. Was he? He wasn't even in the the Expendables or whatever, right? Was he in that movie? Because that was one where
I haven't seen any of those.
they're like, oh, let's get washed up action heroes and bring him back. And I mean, I would assume if he was in any movie, it would be that one.
Maybe that, yeah. Of course, he did that funny commercial where he was doing the splits. That was pretty good. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
It seems like Jean-Claude Van Damme was like this Maximum Risk was one of the end of his action hero, or at least his famous ones. 96 is
the
probably
end of Van Damme.
Yeah, it started going down. Yeah, and I don't see the Expendables on here of a list of movies. So, he was in the second one. That's what it was.
Well, okay, good. I'm glad you figured that out. Because otherwise, I'm sure there's someone listening to us out there that is trying to shout at their podcast player. But yes, Nathan heard you. Congratulations.
Yeah, he was offered the first one too, but he turned it down. So it's his own fault. Yeah, like that.
Well, let's go ahead and get into today's discussion. And there is no Jean-Claude Van Damme in this. It is called The Freakazoid.
I believe in the superheroes. I believe they are kind, the righteous people who keep their word. I admire and I respect them. All except that the Hulk fella. Him I no like. He's got a bad smell.
And The Freakazoid is written by Paul Rugg, and it was directed by Rich Ahrens and John Heater. And Nathan, you got to tell us what happens here in the first part here of The Freakazoid.
It's Freakazoid's birthday, everybody. Happy birthday, Freakazoid. We see a Shriner is asking Freakazoid for some help because his daughter's boyfriend made fun of his little putt-putt, which is what he calls his little Shriner car. He was making fun of how tiny it is. So he's asking Freakazoid to put an egg in his pants. And since it is Freakazoid's birthday, he must do, as Cosgrove announces and tells us audience, he must do it whatever he must do one favor for anyone who asks it on his birthday. And it's also he can't confirm it with the other superheroes because they're off on another planet or something. They're off on a moon somewhere at a convention. The Huntsman even confirms this. He's there. He's asking for help because he can never fight crime. And yeah, he lost his invitation to go to the moon. Oh, it's so sad. But
Hey, how come you're not at that superhero conference?
I lost the address. All I know is it's on some moon. I don't know which one. Darn the luck. Darn!
What a whiny boy.
there's a long line of people to see him, and you know who pulls up to the party? It's the Lobe. He's got what looks like a present, but, you know, it's the Lobe, so I don't know if it could be trusted. He comes and brings Freakazoid the present, and he opens it, and it turns out to be a meat tenderizer. What is it? Dehydrator. That's what it to make jerky.
A food dehydrator?
Trust me, they're heavenly. Perfect for making beef jerky. Oh, boy. Mine.
But he didn't bring any meat.
Where's meat for the jerky? You have to buy some. Ah, shoot.
He also has one favor to ask of Freakazoid, which is nothing.
In other words, Freakazoid, leave me alone.
What kind of request is that?
Goodbye, Freakazoid. Cosgrove? Hey, the next time you give someone a food dehydrator, make sure it's got some meat.
Immediately, he uses that to start messing with people at the party, stealing money and everything from people at the party. Freakazoid comes out to stop him. He's like, hey, Freakazoid, remember, you have to keep your word. It's in the handbook. And he shows him the handbook of, you know, the superhero handbook. And yeah, you have to keep your word even with a supervillain. It doesn't matter. So he gets away. And from this day on, it will be Loeb's Day or something. I forget what this. So it is written, and so it shall be done.
Well, there we go. And of course, there's also this whole subplot that happens right here with Joe. Joe, our announcer. Joe Leahy comes in and he tries to warn Freakazoid, but his acting is so bad.
Ah! The lobe! He's stealing everything!
Joe? Joe, you're our announcer. What are you doing here?
They said, that I could act in this episode.
Well, then do it, mister. When you deliver a line, you've got to mean it, believe it, be it. Now go on, do it again. Go on!
That, at the end, Freakazoid has to give him acting lessons.
Yeah, well, he yells at him, tells him, go get acting lessons, and he's going to try to stop the lobe or something. I don't know.
Oh, no. What are we going to do?
You're going to get some acting lessons, mister. And I'm in big trouble.
Bum, bum, bum.
What can he do? He can't do anything because he already promised he wouldn't, and he has to keep his promise. Oh my gosh.
Well, so very dramatic stuff right there. There's quite a few cultural references in this, and of course the first one is the Godfather. It has this whole marionette kind of thing going logo at the beginning, very similar to the Godfather. And in fact, the whole thing with Mr. Fizizzi, who's voiced by Paul Rugg. I didn't pick it up until like the second or third time watching today that, oh, wait, that's Paul doing both Freakazoid and the guy talking to Freakazoid.
I heard it right away.
Right away?
Like with some of the words he says, it's just like, oh, that's so Paul Rugg.
Yeah.
my little car, my little putt-putt.
Little putt-putt.
Hey, mister, why you have such a stupid little stupid car? This a boy. He make fun of my little putt-putt in the front of my daughter. In the front of my daughter, I have felt the fool.
Cut it out.
Yes, Italian accent's one of the few accents you could still do, and people usually don't get that
canceled.
upset. Yeah, exactly. It's Irish, Italian, and I think English.
Australian?
English, Australian, yeah, will probably be
Canadian?
Forever. Oh, Canadians, they got, oh man. They're going to keep making fun of those Canadians forever. Oh boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
Listen to this. Okay, here's my Canadian accent. You ready? Here we go. Hey, everybody, I'm Canadian. Oh,
what's that about?
Oh, we said it. Which many Canadians don't do that. So, at any rate.
Well, at least one does.
It's enough, and it ruined it for everybody.
It's like when people impersonate Southerners and they're like, how y'all doing? Well, I mean, some of us talk like that. I mean, I don't talk quite like that. But I say y'all, and I have relatives that have really thick Southern accents, and I don't know. When I hear my voice on recording, I sound a lot more Southern than I do to my own ears. So I don't know, but I definitely have relatives who speak with even thicker Southern accents than I do. So some of us talk that way.
Yeah, it was a dramatic difference, wasn't it, Nathan? When she did her normal voice versus the thick Southern accent, it was like,
yeah, I couldn't tell.
It was like,
what did you do with Kelly?
If I go, oh bless your heart.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
And I can really lay it on thick, but and you don't want me to say bless your heart, because then that's a cut. When we say it's a cut.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Exactly. That's not a good thing when it bless his heart like that. It's like, oh, that's not a good thing. Well, I guess in conclusion, accents are fun as long as you're doing them appropriately, I suppose, in conclusion. Well, at any rate, let's go ahead on with some other, if we have obviously the Godfather credits, and in that, which I've only seen The Godfather once. Have both of you seen The Godfather, I'm assuming?
I've seen it. I think once as well.
Yeah. I
mean, there's enough cultural references to it that I felt like I was like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, all right,
I got it.
Yeah,
yeah, horse in bed. Okay, good. Yeah, cannolis. Yeah, okay, got it.
Cannoli, gun, got it.
Yeah,
there's. Yeah, so in the whole thing of at the beginning of, I believe, he starts talking about his respect and everything. Opens up the film Godfather with an "I believe in America" speech to Don Corleone, who is Freakazoid in this case.
I believe in America. America has made my fortune. And I raised my daughter in the American fashion. I gave her freedom, but I taught her never to dishonor her family. She found a boyfriend, not an Italian. She went to the movies with him. She stayed out late. I didn't protest.
And I think in the original version, it's like it's on his daughter's wedding. I think is that you can ask
the day of my daughter's wedding.
Yes, and then of course the hunts. Go ahead.
And he was a Shriner, which I don't know if everybody knows what that is.
A few weeks ago, my daughter, she started dating a boy, not a Shriner.
I think of the They Might Be Giants song. She's an angel.
Oh, I don't know that one.
There's a part where they say, the Shriners loaned us cars. We raced up and down the sidewalk 20,000 million times.
Yep.
And that's,
Cute.
The Shriners, I remember seeing them in a few parades every now and then. You know, you just see the old men with the little fezzes on their hats and the little cars, and they go up and down.
And Abe Simpson, I think, was one, right?
Oh, yeah. And you could ride his car in the Road Rage game. Or
they do a lot of charity work. I think they help somebody in my family get a surgery when they were a kid.
Yeah.
So, they sometimes stand around on the road and with little buckets and for donations and stuff. I haven't seen any lately, but sometimes they're around. But they try to like raise money for hospitals and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have the Shriners Hospital commercials that I see quite often on late night TV with those kids just going, "Hey, help us out. Give us money."
I know some people don't know what they are or what they do, so I thought I'd mention it.
There's so the whole thing of asking the questions, and then the part where he slaps the huntsman. I think the line in the original version is, "You can act like a man," and it's you can act like a superhero. So yeah. There's a ton of people waiting in the hallway for Freakazoid, and so we got a bunch of '90s people. A bunch of people that are no longer with us.
I saw the mask.
Yeah, the mask was like, and he was hiding his face for some reason, which was weird. And he looked like he was like 300 pounds.
Maybe some legal thing. I don't know.
Maybe.
Or maybe they just like easier to draw, not the.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think the folks who did the animation studio who did this episode had some great moments and some not so great moments. So I think maybe they were just like, I don't know how to draw the mask. Let's just hide his face. Joan Rivers was in line, dead. Rush Limbaugh, dead. President Bill Clinton, probably be gone in a few more years. Princess
He's alive
Diana,
as of this recording.
Recording, he is alive. Princess Diana, no longer here. Pope John Paul II, nope. John Wayne, died a long time ago. Kramer, he was there. Of course, The Mask, Judge Ito, he's still around. And then the waiter from Dexter's Date, who was just trying to get Dexter out of the bathroom all the time. I don't know. So
it was cute.
It was a bunch of people that had already been on the episode in one, except I think for Kramer and maybe the Mask and stuff. There was a lot of people we've seen before. So yeah. Well, anyway, the Warners, of course, the Yakko Wacko Dot, they were on the Loeb's wrapping paper. That was some interesting wrapping paper he had. That was like full on huge pictures on each side. Like, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
And
it must have took some time to wrap to get it just right, I would think. Because that's like
to fold it just right. Unless you painted it on the box afterwards.
Oh, maybe.
Cosgrove has a full list of all these people that are still waiting for to see Freakazoid.
Yeah, it says there's 20 more people, and then there was only like 14 people on the list. But
well, yeah. Well, we got De Niro, so we got Robert De Niro, Bennett for Tony Bennett, Stallone for Sylvester Stallone, Frank Sinatra was on there, and Richard Grieco, Bugsy, who was a gangster. And let's see here. And there's some other names that are just kind of Zed.
Yeah.
I don't know who Zed is. Butterworth, I'm assuming Mrs. Butterworth. Smith could be pretty much anybody. And then Barker, which I can only think Bob Barker.
Bob. Yeah, it must be.
Probably.
Okay.
And Smith is probably Will. No, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. And then Freakazoid slapped him. Oh no. Well, there's the first time that we see the Lobe. The Lobe goes bump, bump, bum, which is going to be apparently a running gag in the second season. So look for that.
Bum, bum, bum.
And the whole "so it shall be written, so it shall be done" is from Yul Brynner in the Ten Commandments. King Ramses said that. Well, quite a few references to stuff. But
do you know who was singing the you put your left foot in and you put your left foot out? Is that a person?
You put your head in, you put your head out, you put your head in, and you shake it all about.
Yes, thank you for reminding me about that, because that's not on our list.
It's not on the list, and then I was like, I'm just going to ask, because I want to look it up.
That was, oh gosh, and now I had it too. It's, he says, "I love your Christmas album." Tony Mathis, I believe.
I thought you wrote Johnny Mathis.
Johnny Mathis, that's it. Johnny Mathis. Yes, I was looking at it earlier. But he sings
we need our trivia people.
Yeah. But he says, "I love your Christmas album." And he really does have that kind of like, "It's the more wonderful time of the year" song. So yes, I loved how they were parodying him in this with, "You put your whole self in." I would whenever I would hear his Christmas songs later as a kid, I would always think of this episode. But yes, Johnny Mathis. Funny voice. Mm-hmm. And we'll get to see him a little bit later in the episode too.
Yeah.
Well, at any rate, now that's a lot of references. But what did you guys think about this first part? Kelly, what did you think about it?
I thought it was okay. I didn't see nearly as many people standing in line as you did, but it went by really quick, and I didn't stop to rewind it.
Yeah, they're all written down in the wiki. I saw.
But I really liked the wrapping paper and the Animaniacs reference, and I thought that when the words flashed up across, when they were talking about the superheroes being at the conference, and it's like, this will be important later. This is an important plot point. That was kind of funny.
Or the not so important information, but it was interesting.
Yeah, blue socks.
Talk to the other superheroes if you don't believe me.
I can't. They're all away at some conference.
I'm wearing blue socks.
If you put baking soda and vinegar together, they make a little volcano.
Baking soda and vinegar? Whoa.
Yeah.
Makes a little volcano.
I like Cosgrove's obsession with meat in this and how angry he was at the Lobe. Not the fact that the Lobe is like this wanted criminal for some reason who just gets arrested every episode, and then he's right there next to the police sergeant, and he's just like, "Where's the meat?" If we had meat, it would go in here. All that stuff. Good stuff with, and of course, just little, Paul Rugg's writing of, calling people little fibby boys and all that kind of stuff. It's silly, funny stuff. Nathan, what did you think about the beginning of today's episode?
Yeah, I like the Shriners conversation was just fun. It's this dramatic thing. You think it's going to be of course, in The Godfather, I think he's asking him to kill the guy or something, right?
Yeah.
So, but this one just put one egg. That's it.
One egg.
Please, Freakazoid, do what I ask you to do.
All right. One egg.
Grazie. Grazie.
All right.
Yeah, it was cute.
All right, let's go off to commercial.
Ooh, that freak boy is dreamy. You can tell him after these commercial messages.
Taco Bell presents Nacho and Dog. Next on Pet Hospital.
Hey, Nacho, think I'd look better with a new schnoz?
Yes, let's see. Aha! Dr. Nacho, will I ever smell again? You smell plenty already.
Now when you buy a Taco Bell Kids meal, you can get the groovy superhero Earthworm Jim. There's the Worm Launcher, the Rocket Ripper, and more. You can collect all four at Taco Bell.
Nice. But what happened to my old nose? All ignite.
Taco Bell!
Fetch that food on.
And we're back from commercial. I'm putting in all these video commercials from the 90s in there, by the way.
Yeah. How much do we get paid for that 90s commercial? Is that?
So much.
Buy that 90s product, kids.
See, that's my plan with this. You just put in old commercials from the 90s, and in those companies, I mean, we make them our sponsor, right? That's how it works, right? And they have to pay us. That's how podcast sponsorship works.
Now we'll just write them we'll invoice them right now. So
yeah, exactly. We'll send them an invoice and just go, "You're welcome." No explanation. You're welcome. $2,000.
They might pay us. It might work.
Okay, let's do it. Okay. Well, Kelly, what happens here in the middle part of the Freakazoid?
There's a Mr. Grinch parody, which is sort of like this montage where the Lobe is doing bad things.
Your head is really mushy 'cause you haven't got a skull, nasty Lobe. Why, I wouldn't sit next to you on an airplane if there was a seat next to you on an airplane. Such a bad guy, nasty Lobe. You're as cruel can be. You're vicious, you're malicious.
We interrupt this program for the following important announcement. Hi, I'm Joe, the announcer, and I just want to let you know that I've been taking some acting classes since the first part of the show, and I think I've really improved. Anyway, I just want to let you know that. Thanks. And now, back to our song.
You're despicable and more nasty Lobe. If you invited me to go to the movies with you, I probably wouldn't go.
And he steals the Mona Lisa, cuts down the oldest tree in the world, and he just does some awful things.
He puts laxative in the drinking water of a town. That's horrible.
Yeah. And so he's out mowing somebody's grass, and he's like, "What are you doing? Like, you should be out stopping the Lobe." And what are you, Wacko? And then Wacko from the Animaniacs pops up.
Go get him already! What are you, Wacko?
No, I'm Wacko. Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Indianapolis, Indiana, and Columbus is the capital of Ohio.
Hey!
So that was cute. And he says that, Steven loves it when we do that, when we do stuff like this. And Animaniacs is his favorite. And Freakazoid's like, no, Freakazoid is favorite. And then the brain shows up.
Sorry to break this to you, Wacko, but if I'm not mistaken, Freakazoid is Steven's favorite show. We got a memo.
I believe you're both mistaken. It is the sophisticated wit and charm of Pinky and the Brain that has captured Steven's heart, as well as making it the breakaway hit of the WB schedule.
So then they're like, well, let's go ask him. And so then you see the sign for Amblin Entertainment, and they're sitting around this conference table, and there's Steven at the end of the table. And they're like, Steven, which one of us is your favorite? And he's like, who are you people?
We were just wondering, who's your favorite?
Who are you people?
Then there's like all these newspapers that fly by, and it's like Freakazoid abandoned the city. Where's Freakazoid? Everybody's really upset that, it seems like he's just abandoned his duties. And then it cuts to Freakazoid being sad underneath a tree.
And then we have, of course, our Johnny Mathis guy saying, "We'll be right back."
It's tough to go on living when you cannot show your face. We'll be right back.
Well, he does sort of like a sad song before that.
Yeah, it's a very sad song going through the streets. But
it seems like people.
I thought it was parodying a song, but I couldn't tell what.
I don't know. I don't know either. Yeah, but it's just a Lonely Streets kind of song. Walking the lonely streets. Freakazoid gets so pummeled with all those newspapers. He looks like a mummy at one point. He's like, so many people are so upset at him.
People seem more upset at him than they do the Lobe.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what?
Why aren't you stopping? It's like, if you people all ganged up together, you could probably stop the Lobe yourself.
But no, instead no one's throwing things at the Lobe for doing. They just throw them at Freakazoid. And
the Lobe is doing some pretty awful things. He's like destroying things with laser guns. He's chasing people with tanks. You know, he's pretty unstoppable, or at least so it would seem. Well, obviously the biggest, reference we got was, showing Wacko and, the brain. And of course we had the Grinch parody right there. We also had a quick, reference to the Nighthawks painting, by Edward Hopper, right? So
I saw that. Yes.
Yeah. It's so kind of like, the Freakazoid just runs up to some people in that diner, and I don't know why he's so hungry. He just goes and looks at their food, and they pull the blinds down on him, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of funny at this point, too, because at not one point do we see Dexter at any point in this entire episode. He's just Freakazoid. I know.
He could have just... if he turned into Dexter, people wouldn't have been throwing things at him, probably.
Exactly. It could have been a lot less miserable, at least for a few hours. But, you'll see this a lot, I think, in the second season, is that Dexter... You don't see a lot of Dexter in the second season. They just there's two things were the two major changes were not a lot of the side characters, like Lord Bravery and stuff like that, and wasn't a lot of back and forth with Dexter. It's just almost 100% Freakazoid. Just get to the silliness with him and Cosgrove and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So. At any rate, the second part was pretty straightforward. Were there any parts that you that stood out for you, Nathan, as humorous?
The song was funny. The "We'll be right." I don't know. The way he sings pretty fun.
Yes,
and of course, just definitely the highlight. Of course, seeing Spielberg.
Yay!
And I did like how Loeb's just terrorizing the one person down the cul-de-sac or whatever, and just waving to Freakazoid, and shooting a laser at this one guy. Like, I don't know what this one guy did to the Loeb, but I thought that was pretty funny.
The Loeb is having a ball. He's just having
having fun.
By the way, we should mention that it's sad. David Warner, who did the voice of the Loeb, since our last recording of a Freakazoid episode, he passed away right after we recorded. So we just recorded like the Hello Loby thing, and then he passed away like a week or so after that. And it was like, oh, that's sad. We were just talking about his great performance. So it's always great hearing his. He had such a cool voice, like just against Freakazoid. And it's kind of I think always the thing that I like about these episodes of Freakazoid and everything is just the folks that they were able to get on the show to act silly and say silly things. It's like they have such like commanding voices or presence, and then they are saying such childish things. It's quite funny. Kelly, anything you didn't mention that you thought was cool?
I'm consulting my notes. Nope, I think I covered it all.
All right. Well, off to commercial.
I'll return after these messages. Hey, put that remote down. Put it down.
Something big is shaking from Chef Boyardee, and kids everywhere are getting into it. Spider-Man pasta. Whoa! Come on, let's show Mysterio the ropes, kid. Hello. Looks like he'll be hanging around for a while. Totally webbed out Spider-Man shape smothered in secret sauce. Spider-Man pasta from Chef Boyardee. So hot, it's practically radioactive. Thank goodness for Chef Boyardee.
You're back! And just in time for more Freakazoid! Oh, joy!
Oh, man, I hope they pay us this time. Okay. We're going to make so much money on today's podcast.
Oh, man.
Okay. Well, today, let's get to the third part. Here we go. So, We get back to Freakazoid, and he's still under this tree, and he's just talking about he's some superhero. Quite a laugh, ha ha ha. And then he goes into an insane laughing fit.
What a laugh. I'm nothing but a failure.
Where he starts just he starts spreading his legs like Jean-Claude Van Damme and walking on his hands. It's insane. His face looks crazy, and it really is quite insane. But he rips up the superhero handbook, and one piece just keeps going up to the sky and hitting him in the face, and keeps throwing it, and it lands on his mouth, and eventually he looks at it. He says, "I knew it.
I knew it."
And of course, he didn't. He didn't. He didn't know this. It's the caption. The caption is back to tell us that he didn't. And so Freakazoid goes to City Hall, which has now been renamed Loeb Hall, to face off against the Loeb, to tell him he knows what the Loeb was up to. Which goes to a very funny line with the Loeb and his tailor.
Hello, Loeb.
Freakazoid, good to see you. How's that food dehydrator?
I want to talk to you. Alone.
It's all right. Whatever you have to say, you can say in front of my tailor. I trust him with my life.
It's about the code book. Get out!
But Freakazoid is like, at this point, he is just like hulking out. Like, he's getting huge and strong. He's so angry. He has a very scary face. I did like how when he goes in, the Loeb's secretary, who I could only assume might have been there from City Hall beforehand, and her job just got transferred over to be the Loeb's secretary. He just grabs her and just gently puts her on top of her desk, which is silly.
I'm sorry, sir, but you cannot go in there!
So he breaks all those doors, talks to the Loeb, and of course, he points out that the Loeb was the one that made the superhero handbook. There is no superhero handbook. And the Loeb was the one that told all these other superheroes to go to this convention or whatever it was on some moon so that the Loeb could get away with everything. And the Loeb tries to lie, but his eyeballs are like fluttering around the place, so it's obvious that he's going to lie.
You started that whole rumor, didn't you?
No, now that wasn't me. It's true, really, I swear.
You're a terrible liar, Loeb. Look me in the eyes and tell me you didn't.
I didn't. I really, really didn't.
So Freakazoid just grabs him by the collar, starts shaking him, and then Joe comes in.
Oh, I love this scene. He thinks Juliet's dead. He's so overcome with sorrow that he himself plans to join her in death. Oh, I'm going to cry.
Come, bitter conduct, come, unsavory guide. Thou desperate pilot, now at once run on the dashing rocks, thy seasick weary bark. Here's to my love, O true apothecary, thy drugs are quick. Thus, with a kiss, I die.
Wow, Joe, that was great.
Really? Want me to do it again?
No, but it was really good.
So Joe, his acting has gotten much, much better. And he ends up distracting Freakazoid so much that the Loeb gets away. And the Loeb is driving down the street, and Freakazoid is, of course, doing his patented chase after him. And it's like a lot like these things like in the movie Bullet or any other kind of movie where you're kind of racing through the streets of San Francisco to the point where, like, you know, the cars are jumping over the hills and then hitting and sparks are going off. And then even Freakazoid, who's running down the street, even hits sparks when he hits the ground. And they're ramming each other, where Freakazoid rams into the Loeb's car, and Loeb rams into Freakazoid. It's funny, but the writers of Freakazoid, who actually aren't caricatures of any of the writers of Freakazoid this time around.
Hey, Freakazoid! The other writers and I think it might be more fun if you could use the Freakmobile in this chase.
What do you say? It would really help the show if you know what I mean.
Okay!
go back to the toyetic Freakmobile, and the Freakmobile is able to put Loeb in his place. Literally, he grabs Loeb and throws him into jail, I believe, right? So Loeb like falls into the jail, and City Hall is brought back to normal, and there's a huge party, and they all say, "Okay, let's have some beef jerky." And Cosgrove is there with the beef, the meat dehydrator or whatever it is, and I noticed today that the huntsman was serving up a pitcher of berry water, because we all know the huntsman, of course, he loves his berry water. I think in a previous episode he was drinking some berry water. That's why he was distracted or something like that. I forget exactly what, but
yeah, I'm guessing that's why he wasn't in this episode. He's probably distracted. Probably got there right at the end, right when Loeb was in jail, right in Don.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think that was one of the things in the wiki that people were like saying, why wasn't the huntsman, like, technically there was a superhero there. The huntsman was there,
but he got there too late, obviously.
Yeah, but I also think the huntsman is just so ineffective that it doesn't matter. Like I think the huntsman was just crying at home or something like that. He was just upset.
I think he got distracted by something, and by the time he got the call, I'm sure they called him. We'll say they called the huntsman, but he didn't get there in time, because that's what the huntsman does. He always gets there.
What if the Loeb destroyed the huntsman's horn? And
maybe.
Yeah. There you go.
Took over City Hall. So
many reasons why. I think number one is the huntsman just doesn't. I mean, he knows how to fight crime in his introduction, but he doesn't know how to fight crime in real life, even if he could.
And he got there, but yeah, he's at the very end, so he was there.
Yeah. Well, at any rate, let's see. Any moments in this that stood out that you thought were cute, funny, etc., etc.? Kelly, let's start with you.
The whole Romeo and Juliet thing was hilarious.
Yes. And Joe was actually very good. I thought, truly, like his speech pattern and everything like that. Very dramatic. Very good.
And when the Loeb started reciting it along with him, like he even knew exactly what scene they were referencing before he even started.
He's like, scene 5, Romeo. Yeah, he knows exactly. Like, this is the scene where.
Nathan, anything else that stood up for you in this last part?
I really liked when Freakazoid was like, look me in the eye and tell me that you didn't. So Loeb's like looking all around, up, down. No, I swear. The acting there is very fun, and seeing all the pictures that Loeb has put up in the mayor's office are pretty fun. Like shaking head, like they're pretty badly drawn, where some of them look like he's like a cyclops or something, but it's still fun to see like him shaking hands, and like, I don't know, he's trying to be a good mayor or something. But
oh yeah, I see him now. Yeah, I'm checking back at it. Yeah, he spent a lot of he worked fast. He was very quick from
all the pictures.
Dominating the city, destroying the city, and then just all you have to do to become the mayor is just put your name on the hall and just walk inside, and then you're ruling the city.
He has all the. It seemed very short term thinking too, because it's like, what is he going to do when all the superheroes come back from the conference? Like, that's only a day or two, right? I mean, like,
maybe it depends on how far away that moon was. It might be still going to the moon. Whatever moon
just
that
like,
is in the galaxy.
He could have just done that, but also had Freakazoid go to it too, and then he could have done the same thing.
That's true, but then we wouldn't have a story, I guess, huh?
I guess not.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and get to our water tower rating. Well, out of 5 water towers, how many would you give this episode of Freakazoid? Nathan, let's start with you.
Okay. I'm gonna go with 3.5. I think. I don't know. I enjoyed it, but for some reason I didn't love it. I don't know what that means. But
Kelly, what do you think?
Yeah.
I'm gonna do 4, and I generally would go 5 just because Steven. But I don't know, like that bit was cute, but it wasn't really funny to me. Like, I don't know, it wasn't as funny as it could have been. I don't know. It just made me feel kind of flat. So, so I'll do 4. But I thought otherwise, it was a decent episode. I don't know if I ever really laughed at anything, but I would kind of think to myself, yeah, that was kind of interesting.
It's always silliness, It's like even when it's not like laugh out loud funny, it's just like, well, this is weird and silly, and that's Freakazoid.
Yeah, Freakazoid doesn't really make me laugh out loud. Not like Animaniacs has done in the past, but yeah, I think I feel weird giving it a 4 because it does have Steven in it, but I was like, yeah, it just wasn't. I don't know. I just thought it would be funnier.
Well, I will give it a 4 as well. It's a strong episode of Freakazoid. It's not like the funniest, but it's good. There's nothing bad in it, and it's the only thing. The only thing that's bad in it is the animation at some points. It just gets flat out
like
weird.
When he was running, it looked like he didn't have any teeth.
Yeah,
but he had teeth, and I was so confused because you saw the little lines around his lip, like how when people take out their dentures in cartoons. He looked like that, and I was like, that is some weird animation.
I think the part where he's walking down the street sad and he looks like a shriveled, like his muscles on
maybe
his
that's
body.
What I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I thought he was running, but yeah, I think that's actually the scene.
He's all sad, and he has these weird wavy lines all over his body that make no sense whatsoever to a real musculatures of a person or superhero. But then again, it was so sad. It kind of made him look sadder, I suppose, because he looked really shriveled up like a raisin. So I guess that looks okay. But also I
just think the episode was a little too long. I think they should have added another short or something. Like, I felt like they were like too much like if it was a 10-minute thing and they had another 10-minute, like, oh man, it would have been hilarious. Just put in all the best jokes. Like the whole like spinning newspaper thing.
Yeah.
None of those are funny. And I'm like, this should be like a joke here or something. And there's no joke here. And there was a lot of scenes where it was just like Freakazoid sad and walking through cities or something, like where it's just like, it's not funny. Like
we should talk about also the ending joke, by the way, though. At the end they have they say see us at www.com. Let's see what I say here. Hang on one second here. There's so many things on the notes. Okay, it says visit us on the web at http://www.com.com, comma dum dooby doom dum dum, breaking up is hard to do. And of course, and then Cosgrove had his great line at the end, which was cut it out, which is great. So yeah, I would say definitely a 4 for this episode because it's a strong episode. The animation is a little weird in certain parts, like Wacko, and not so much the brain, but Wacko looks super weird as well. It's still funny stuff. I do like that gag of just, who are you? Who are you guys? So yeah, a good episode, really strong, but not the best episode, but definitely not the worst episode of Freakazoid either. So there we go. Well, let's go ahead and get to some contact information. Kelly, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter, Yoda Princess, YODAPRNCSS.
All right, and Nathan, what about you?
I'm also on Twitter, Joey. Django FT, that's me.
Okay, and as for the Animaniacast, we're on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, and of course, Animanicast.com will take you to our RetroZap.com archives. We're a proud member of the RetroZap.com podcast network. You should check out RetroZap to see fantastic podcasts, wonderful articles each and every day, and of course, you can become a patron of our podcast by going to patreon.com/Animanicast and support our show and get a bunch of bonus audio and audio commentaries with Tom Ruger. And I'm sure there's probably some bonus stuff of me going around FanX and doing stuff there that we can't put out to the public. It's just too It's too salacious. It's boy.
Some exclusive.
Yes.
Exclusive.
Well, at any rate, that'll do it for today's episode. So, for Nathan and Kelly, this is Joey saying, good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
This podcast is not endorsed by Warner Brothers or Amblin Entertainment and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Animaniacs, Tiny Toon Adventures, Freakazoid, the Warner Brothers logo, all names, pictures, and sounds are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of the Animanicast